Divine ones, listen closely, the very ones who smeared your name, they're being exposed by the same mouths they used against you. Have you ever been falsely accused, only to watch the accuser get trapped in their own web of lies? Let me tell you about a woman named Anaya, sweet soul, never bothered anyone, but jealousy is a wicked thing, divine ones. Her light irritated the demons in others. So they did what wounded souls do, they lied. They twisted her kindness into manipulation and her boundaries into coldness. One person spread the lie, then two, then a whole circle of people turned on her. Anaya felt alone, heartbroken. But here's what they didn't count on. God's justice doesn't skip anyone. That same circle is now eating itself alive, turning, pointing fingers and unraveling right before her eyes. Divine ones, when you are innocent, God's vengeance is better than any revenge you could plot. So why is it that when people lie about you, their lives begin to crumble? Why does karma return with such accuracy? Stay with me through this video because we're unpacking the spiritual truth behind these betrayals, the divine protection around your name, and why their lies are turning back on them like a boomerang thrown by darkness itself. As it says in Isaiah 54:17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." Point 1. Lies have short legs, but truth has wings, divine ones. Let's talk about the power of truth and the undeniable way it always catches up, no matter how far or fast someone tries to outrun it. It's like a force of nature. It might be hidden for a time, tucked away in the shadows, but it will inevitably rise to the surface. Lies, on the other hand, are fragile. They may seem powerful in the beginning, but they require constant upkeep. Every falsehood demands more deceit, more cover-ups, and more effort to maintain its existence. The problem is lies have a shelf life. They rot from the inside out. When people build their lives on falsehoods, eventually those lies will become too heavy to carry. It's like a weight that gets progressively harder to bear. And when too many people are holding on to a lie, the collective burden starts to tear them apart. What happens next? They begin to point fingers. The blame shifts. Everyone who was once complicit in the deception starts throwing others under the bus. This isn't just karma at work, it's divine order. The truth, in contrast, has no such struggle. It doesn't need maintenance, it doesn't rot, and it doesn't weigh you down. It's pure, it's free, and it flies without resistance. While the liars are tangled in their own webs of deceit, scrambling to cover their tracks, the truth remains constant and steady. It can't be silenced, no matter how hard anyone tries. And here's the most beautiful part. When you are walking in the light of truth, when your intentions are pure and your heart is innocent, you are protected by a higher power. That divine protection acts as a shield, safeguarding you from the chaos others may try to create. So, divine ones, be still. Watch as the lies around you unravel. You don't need to force anything, and you certainly don't need to get caught up in the drama. The truth is your ally, and it will always rise. Meanwhile, those who tried to outrun it will be left grappling with the weight of their own deception. As they turn on each other and crumble under the pressure of their lies, you'll rise higher, untouched and free, with your innocence intact, protected by divine order. Point 2, they attacked light because they live in darkness. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt an uncomfortable tension in the air, even though nothing seemed off? That's your light, your energy, unknowingly exposing the darkness around you. It's not always something tangible that you're feeling, but more of an intuitive sense, an energy shift that you can't quite explain. This phenomenon is often more spiritual than you realize. People with darker, more manipulative intentions tend to get agitated when they're in the presence of someone who radiates authenticity, purity, or truth. It's like a magnet, pulling their hidden insecurities and fears to the surface. They don't even know why they feel this way. But it's your light shining into their shadows, revealing their own inner turmoil. It's interesting, isn't it? People who live in deception, manipulation, or guilt tend to target those who are innocent or sincere. This is because innocence, in its purest form, holds a mirror to their own wrongdoings. When you walk into a room as your authentic self, your goodness and truth become a silent threat to their hidden agendas. Liars, manipulators, and those who are carrying shame often feel exposed around someone who cannot be swayed or controlled. They feel vulnerable, as if your very presence is a reminder of their misdeeds. So instead of confronting their guilt, they may try to undermine, silence, or even ruin the innocent. But here's the twist, the true kicker. While they may try to attack your character or undermine your integrity, what they're really doing is committing a spiritual offense. Attacking the innocent is not just a personal betrayal, it's a spiritual violation. When someone tries to harm you for simply being pure and authentic, they are stepping into a territory that invites divine consequences. It's like slapping an angel in the face and expecting not to feel the wrath of heaven's fire. The universe, or whatever higher power you believe in, doesn't take kindly to the mistreatment of its pure creations. The beauty of this is that while they may try to tear you down, they only end up magnifying your strength. Your light will always be stronger than their shadows. While they sit in their own darkness, you rise higher, and your growth becomes the ultimate lesson they cannot avoid. So don't let their attempts to ruin you make you bitter. Instead, let them teach you how to shine even brighter. Point 3. The divine record is never wrong. When people try to tear down your reputation, it can feel like a personal attack, a relentless attempt to soil your character and destroy your standing. They whisper lies, spread rumors, and weaponize misunderstandings. They think they've buried your name, but what they don't realize is that your reputation isn't inked in the fragile pages of human perception. It's written in divine ink. And divine ink doesn't fade, it doesn't smudge, and it certainly doesn't get erased by the whims of human judgment. God sees everything, the whispers in the shadows, the screenshots shared with malicious intent, and the cruel jabs meant to undermine you. While others may doubt you, point fingers, or choose to believe lies, the divine realm is documenting it all, keeping record of every act, every word, and every false move. It's like the universe has its own ledger where the truth is always preserved and justice is always at work, even when you can't see it. In the grand scheme of things, what those people don't realize is that their actions have a cost. The more they engage in their smear campaign, the more their own actions begin to speak louder than their words. Spiritual decay sets in slowly at first, but just like a crack in the foundation of a building, it eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Even the people closest to them, the ones they've carefully curated around themselves, can feel it. They start to see the cracks in their story, the hollowness of their intentions. People can sense when something isn't right on a spiritual level, and that energy inevitably turns. As their facade starts to crumble, your name begins to rise. You're not rising because of anything you've done to them, but because you've stayed true to your integrity, your values, and your purpose. People start to notice the strength in your character, the quiet dignity you've maintained despite the chaos. And when people start to see your true worth, those who were once against you begin to flip. They realize that being on your side offers far more benefits than opposing you. The people who tried to bury you, they're witnessing the implosion of their own efforts. They thought they could control your narrative, but the divine always has the final say. Your name is written in eternal ink, and no matter how hard they try, it will never fade. Point 4. Your silence was louder than their noise. In a world where drama often rules, where social media fuels constant confrontation, and where everyone seems to have something to prove, choosing silence over a reaction is nothing short of powerful. While others argue, throw tantrums, or post subtweets, you decided to rise above it all. Instead of getting caught up in petty back and forths or fueling conflict with fiery responses, you chose dignity. This decision, subtle yet profound, became a silent form of strength. It's easy to react when provoked, to clap back or defend your name, but to hold your peace and remain unfazed is an art few truly master. The impact of your calmness was immediate and far-reaching. While your peers were busy airing their grievances in group chats or indulging in public drama, you were quietly leveling up in private. You weren't showing off or seeking validation. You were investing in yourself, whether through skill building, expanding your knowledge, or simply focusing on your own growth. This silent pursuit of betterment not only kept you grounded, but also made you an enigma to others. They couldn't understand why you weren't reacting to their attempts to stir you up. This confusion made them uneasy. What they didn't realize was that your peace was never meant to be disturbed. Your choice to stay silent was not out of weakness, but out of strength. It showed that you were secure in who you were and didn't need external validation or approval from anyone. Your refusal to engage in their negativity was the loudest statement you could make. They began to wonder why wasn't the innocent one ever the problem. They had painted you as weak, maybe even naive, but your silence spoke volumes. When people saw your unshaken demeanor, their perspective shifted. Your refusal to engage in drama turned you into a figure of respect. They realized that it wasn't you causing problems. It was their own insecurities, fears, and need for validation. Your peace became a mirror, reflecting their unrest. And in that reflection, they were forced to confront the truth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not to react, but to simply rise above. While they were caught in the noise, you were quietly mastering the art of self-discipline and growth. You didn't have to prove anything to anyone. The results of your silence and steady progress spoke for themselves. Point 5, the circle turns inward when the lie gets old. Gossip is a dangerous game, one that often seems so tempting to indulge in. It's like fast food for the soul, quick, satisfying in the moment, but ultimately leaving a deep sense of emptiness. For those who thrive on it, gossip feels like power, a way to bond over shared negativity. But let's not forget the truth. Gossip is poison. It's a toxic fuel that may give a temporary high, but in the end, it leaves everyone involved hungry for something real, something substantial. It may feed the ego for a second, but it never nourishes the spirit. Now, if you're one of the divine ones, the ones who've learned to rise above the noise and hold on to their integrity, you've seen this before. You've seen how those who once tried to tear you down with their words now find themselves trapped in their own web of deceit. Their circle, once united in their bitter laughter and mocking whispers, is now sick from the poison they brewed. Why? Because lies, no matter how well crafted, have no foundation. They can never hold anything together for long. When people who thrive on gossip lose their common target, the one they've spent so much time trying to belittle and tear down, they start turning on each other. It starts small, a side eye, a sarcastic comment in the corner of a room, an uncomfortable silence where there used to be laughter. But that's when the cracks start to form. The tension begins to build, and before long it erupts. The lies they've told, the secrets they've kept, the assumptions they've made, everything starts spilling out like broken glass. Each shard cuts deep, and the truth is laid bare for all to see. The irony here is that they tried to use lies as glue, thinking it would hold their fragile alliances together. But lies can't bond anything. They're volatile, like a chemical reaction waiting to happen. Eventually, the glue that was supposed to hold them together melts away, and the explosion is inevitable. As you rise higher, those who once tried to tear you down will only have each other to turn on, and it will be their own words that cut them. So, divine ones, let them sit in their regret. Keep walking your path and remember that the truth is always stronger than the most elaborate lie. Point 6, God will use your pain as proof. When betrayal first strikes, it feels like an earthquake to the soul. The ground you once walked on with certainty now feels unstable, and the trust you gave so freely is shattered like glass. You replay conversations in your head, analyze every moment, and wonder how you missed the signs. It hurts, not just emotionally, but spiritually. But what if that pain wasn't punishment? What if it was preparation? You see, betrayal has a strange way of clearing the room so you can hear God more clearly. Sometimes the greatest clarity comes after the deepest cut. Betrayal forces a transformation. It removes the masks people wear, revealing their true nature, but more importantly, it reveals your strength. Psychologists say betrayal trauma activates the same areas in the brain as physical pain, yet healing from it reshapes your inner world like few experiences can. It's no coincidence that so many spiritual leaders, prophets, and successful individuals in history experienced betrayal before stepping into their greatest calling. Joseph was sold by his brothers before becoming a ruler in Egypt. Jesus was betrayed by Judas before fulfilling his divine purpose. The pattern is clear. Betrayal breaks your heart, but builds your destiny. And here's where it becomes divine. God never lets betrayal be the end of the story. It becomes the catalyst for your rise. When you handle it with grace instead of vengeance, you align with something higher than yourself. People notice. They wonder how you're still standing, still smiling, still growing. But they don't realize it's not just resilience, it's revelation. You've discovered who you are, and more importantly, who God is through your pain. When your blessings begin to bloom right in front of the very ones who tried to bury you, it's not just a comeback, it's a calling fulfilled. That's divine vindication, not loud, not bitter, but undeniable. So let your enemies watch, not with malice, but with marvel. Because while they plotted your downfall, God prepared your table. And now it's your time to feast, with grace, gratitude, and God-given glory. Point 7, forgive, but don't rebuild the bridge. Now here's the part that slips right past most hearts. When their world starts unraveling and they come crawling back with apologies soaked in regret, your soul might tug at you to extend a hand. And yes, you can forgive. In fact, forgiveness is essential for your spiritual hygiene. It clears out bitterness, untangles your energy, and frees you from the emotional grip of the past. But forgiveness does not require you to reconstruct the very bridge they once used to break you. God didn't remove you from that environment, that relationship, or that circle on a whim. He saw what you couldn't. He heard the conversations behind closed doors, watched the betrayals behind smiles, and stepped in for your protection. Rebuilding the bridge is like inviting a storm back after finally finding peace. You are allowed, no, called, to set boundaries. That's not being bitter, that's being wise. You can be holy and still have a no entry sign on your healed heart. It's not ungodly to block someone who caused you harm. Even Jesus withdrew from crowds when the energy wasn't right. Spiritual maturity means knowing the difference between compassion and codependency. It's not your job to fix those who fractured your spirit. It's your job to learn the lesson and walk in your purpose. Science even backs this up. Neuroscience shows that repeated emotional trauma, especially from the same source, wires the brain for distrust, anxiety, and stress. Going back to those who broke you isn't noble, it's neurologically dangerous. You're not obligated to bleed in the same battlefield twice just to prove you've healed. Growth is recognizing the fire faster, not cozying back up to it with the hope it's changed temperature. Let them wrestle with their regrets. That's between them and God now. Your responsibility is to rise, protect your peace, and move forward with grace, because yes, you can pray for them, but you can still block them. And that, dear soul, is holy too. Divine ones, they lied about you because they saw your power and couldn't control it. But remember this, the innocent never need to prove their innocence to the wicked. God already saw it all, and now he's turning the tables. Not for revenge, but for revelation. This isn't just about what they did to you. It's about what God is doing for you. You were never meant to fit in their circle because you were chosen to stand out. Their betrayal became your breakthrough. So walk tall, shine brighter, and keep your spirit clean. The lies they told are returning like boomerangs, not to you, but to them. Stay awake, divine ones. Stay discerning, because your story isn't over. It's just getting divinely documented. Watch till the very end to never forget who you are and to keep rising in power, purpose, and divine protection. You've been lied about, but you are still rising, because innocence always wins in the end.